It's been nearly 1 year since I sold pretty much everything that I owned, packed a few bags, and left Canada. It's safe to say my life has changed drastically since then, and I'm making this video to share with you kind of my honest review and what's happened in the past year. Now, before I just start shitting on Canada, I do want to say I actually love Canada. It's a fantastic country. I'm very grateful that I was born there. My family's from there, my friends are there, and I spent 23 years of my life living in Canada, calling it my home. There are some amazing parts of the country. It's beautiful, the people are great, but the reality is it's a sinking ship, and I believe you have to prepare and get off before it sinks, and that's why I decided to leave. Canada right now has so many warning flags, so many red signs, and the best quote I've heard is that Canada is one of the best countries, one of the richest countries in the world, ran by idiots. And I don't think that could be closer to the truth. In recent years, the politics are insane, the taxes are ridiculous, especially if you're an entrepreneur or a small business owner, and the lack of freedoms and things we saw in the past few years with all of the crazy global events that occurred really just made me question why I was living here and how I could get out as fast as possible. This was not an easy decision. I paid over $500,000 Canadian dollars to leave the country due to exit taxes, and now it's probably going to be even more than that, and I've talked a lot about that on this channel. The point is, I knew I needed to get out. I couldn't in good conscience stay there, so I decided to leave, and it's honestly one of the best decisions I've made. The first thing that I've really noticed leaving Canada is just that sense of hope has returned. When you live in Canada, the cost of living is going up, the crime is going up, people generally are dissatisfied, they're sad, they're depressed, they don't have hope for the future. Go talk to millennials, people that are in their late 20s, early 30s. They don't have dreams of buying a house. They're not going to start a family. They can hardly afford to live. If you want to live in a place like downtown Toronto, you're paying $3,000, $4,000 per month for a 1 or 2 bedroom condo. It's absolutely insane. And then you compound that with the horrible weather, the insane taxes, the crazy politics recently, the lack of freedoms. And what do people have to look forward to? Now, when you get out of that environment, it really just completely reshapes your mindset. For example, right now I'm living in Dubai. That's where I've lived most of the year, but I was also traveling all around Southeast Asia. And even in these poorer countries, people actually have a sense of hope. They know that things are getting better. They can actually improve their life, and things that they do will make a difference. They feel like they have that agency and they're working on themselves and not so concerned about all the things that are happening with the government or who's getting elected. So it's just that overall sense of hope really does completely change your life. And when you're around a bunch of people that actually feel like they can succeed, feel like they can improve and get better, it wears off on you. And that's really the number one thing that I noticed. When I was back in Canada, pretty much every conversation I had ended up going down the path of how much they hate the country, how expensive things are, how difficult it is to get ahead, and it's just a lot of complaining. I don't blame them, but it's just the thing, they don't have any hope. They don't have any sense that things are actually going to get better, and I guess that's kind of the truth and the reality for a lot of Canadians. Now, the next major thing I experienced leaving Canada is really just an overall sense of growth. When you stay in the same place, the same environment, with the same friends and the same people and the same house every single day of your life, it just becomes familiar. You get trapped in this kind of monotony of life, and you don't really have anything to look forward to. Maybe you go do something fun on the weekend, or you go away for a week somewhere, but life is just overall boring, and you don't have that kind of motivation or drive to want to succeed. When I was back in Canada, I was making tons of money, I was super successful, but I just felt like, what's the point? Like, I'm not happy. This sucks. I don't even want to do better. I don't have any motivation. And as soon as I left, it gave me a really great chance to kind of reset that, look at my goals, and really adjust my life to do exactly what I want. As soon as I landed in Dubai, I was super efficient. I was motivated. I wanted to work harder. I wanted to get stuff done. I wanted to work on my fitness. And I've achieved so many goals in the past year that I didn't even think of in Canada, because I've really had that kind of new environment, which has kickstarted that. Now, it doesn't have to be Dubai. You could even move to a different city in Canada. But I think getting out of that familiarity, kind of breaking those cycles and starting fresh is something super important, especially if you're a young person, if you spent your entire life in the same city or the same location. Now, another major thing I noticed leaving Canada is how much the weather can actually have an effect on you. Now, I think a lot of us Canadians are just used to the brutal winters. We suffer through it. We live with it. It's just a part of life. But I don't think you actually realize how much that affects your mood and your overall overall happiness until you go to a place where you don't have to experience that. Now I live in Dubai. Like I said, I was also traveling all over Southeast Asia, where generally the weather's pretty good. It's sunny. You can go outside pretty much every single day. In a place like Dubai, it hardly even rains, for example, which makes the weather extremely consistent. And I can tell you that my mood is just a lot more stable. I just feel so much better when I can go outside every single day and actually see the sun. Where I was living before, it was cloudy, 7 out of 10 days. In the winter, it sucked. You're just not going outside. You're staying inside every single day. And here, being able to see the sun really has completely changed my life. And I think just being in the country of Canada, I mean, unless you're in really specific areas, it's very difficult to get that. So the sunlight is really just amazing. It's a miracle. Humans need the sun, I think, more than we know. And honestly, that's been one of the major things I've realized. That warm weather, that sun, it just brings kind of optimism and happiness into your life. And now I couldn't imagine going back and living like through these winters where I would go days or weeks without even stepping outside or seeing the sun. And of course, we've got to talk about taxes. Now look, the taxes in Canada are actually bananas. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. Now that I live in a place where I have zero tax or close to zero tax, it's actually insane to me how much I was paying before and how pretty much half the year I was working for the government or for free. Now in Canada, if you make even 250,000 Canadian dollars, which we all know now is not that much money to get by in Canada, you're taxed at almost 55% depending on the province that you live in. Can you imagine that? More than half the year you're working, your paycheck is simply going to the government. You're not even getting what you're working for. Now living in a place like Dubai, when you actually get to keep the money you work for, not only does it motivate you, but it just feels so much more free. I'm now not consulting with all these accountants and lawyers and implementing these tax strategies and worrying about where I should put this money so it doesn't get stolen from me by the government. Money I make is money I get to keep. I feel richer. I feel more free. I feel like I actually have access to the money that I'm making, and it really is completely life-changing. My financial stress is significantly less, and it's just so much less complex. And from a business perspective, I get to spend my time worrying about how to grow my business and invest back in that, rather than worrying about what I should do to pay the least amount in tax possible. It's actually a weird thing when you're operating a business in a high-tax country, because most of your time is figuring out how to pay the least amount in taxes and doing all of these things in your business that you wouldn't normally do just to reduce this tax burden. Now, of course, you have to do that because your biggest expense is taxes, but as soon as you move to an environment that's a lot more business friendly, where you actually get to keep the money you're making, it just allows you to really accelerate things and grow so much faster. I know for me now, I've been able to invest more money than I ever could before. In about 6-7 months living in Dubai, I've earned more money than I ever earned living in Canada, even if you were to factor in the taxes. So the point is, getting out of that environment really is life-changing. I'm not here just to promote Dubai. You can move pretty much anywhere you want, but having access to the sun, having access to hope and that feeling of growth in a community of people that are like you, that are striving to do better, to improve their life, that have consciously made decisions to get out of that monotonous environment, it really is life-changing. And already being here just a year, I have a fantastic group of friends, a great community, and I'm looking forward to meeting more people, because the people you meet when you go to a place like Dubai or you leave your country and go to maybe like an expat hub, they all think similarly. They're looking ahead, they know something's going wrong. Rather than waiting for it to go to shit before they leave, they've been proactive, and you just find that you have so many more similarities, things to talk about, and these people are just more like you than maybe some of the people you've been friends with for 20 years back in your home country. Anyways, guys, that's kind of my rant on Canada. I have a lot more that I could say, and I have already said much of that on this channel, so if you want, check out some videos here, and I will see you in the next one.